Hi, and welcome to another Scientology Outside of the Church podcast brought to you by ao-gp.org and the College of Independent Scientology.com. It's just College of Independent Scientology.com. I'm here with Arthur Medakis and Quentin Stroud, and Arthur has an idea for a podcast. We don't even know what the idea is. So, Arthur, over to you, and we'll see how this unfolds. Um, Take it away, Arthur.
All right. Well, I kind of actually got the idea from an Instagram I saw probably a week ago, and it kind of stuck in my mind. And because we've got so much going on around us in our personal lives, our everydays, in the world, political views, some really strong impacts. And the question's really simple. How responsible are you for somebody else's karma?
Now, when you say karma, if we don't,
Okay, so karma,
yeah, you might
yeah,
want to
yeah, I'll
explain
break
that.
it down. Yeah. So karma in the sense of like, okay, there's somebody in your circle that has an issue. How much are you going to make them a part of you? How
Mm,
much are you going to invest yourself in other people's problems? How much time do you invest in political situations that may not affect you or concern you? That kind of dynamic. So how much of yourselves do we actually invest in other people where in the nicest possible way, we probably shouldn't.
okay, Quentin.
Okay. So the way I've heard that
Just saying.
asked before, the way I've heard that asked before is, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Right? Am I my brother's keeper? And that is a question that has been asked since Cain and Abel in Scripture.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
am I my brother's keeper? And my answer to that personally is yes, I am. I am my brother's keeper. To what extent do I
Exactly.
extol? Mhm. To what extent do I extol my energy, my resources, my well-being, my wherewithal? To what extent do I extol that is based on what LRH calls is the potential of a valuable individual, PVI, potential of a valuable individual. And I ask the question, is this individual, to what degree is this individual valuable to all the dynamics? And then I will give more energy over to that. So when I look at you, when I look at Jonathan, when I look at the people, independent Scientologists who are really making roads and making their way up the bridge and doing things they need to do, oh, I'm there for you, buddy. I'm there for you. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am, because I see you as a valuable, potentially valuable individual in what you're at least attempting to do. And that's how I determine how much energy I extol towards that individual.
Hmm.
Arthur.
That's a good viewpoint, actually. That's a really good viewpoint.
Yeah. What
Because
about you?
because
How
how
how do, how do
often,
you? Mhm.
well, and I think for me personally, whenever something strikes me like that, it it lets me know that I still have confusion around it. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't have confusion around it, it wouldn't have stood out so strongly.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas, if I'd already made my mind up as you have, then yeah, it wouldn't have stuck out to me as such. And so that's a that's a fair thing to say, yeah. It's like a misunderstood
Yeah.
word, like how often do you have like a misunderstood word that you're constantly using, and then the moment you understand it, you're like, oh, I don't need to use that anymore because it was incorrect the whole time.
I'm sitting over here. You guys can see me on camera. I'm sitting right my thumb going,
Ah.
trying to keep my mouth
What, what,
shut.
Right, go, go,
Go
go,
ahead,
go,
Jonathan.
go,
What do you say?
go.
Well, I mean, um, you guys are, and that's, and I have to say this is something that many people have told me about our podcast, is that we are significantly different personalities. And when I say that, I mean our viewpoints are significantly different based off of our realities, our awareness levels, Uh, and if I were to go as far uh, as Quentin does, our astrological signs, I've had people say, "Well,
Right.
you're definitely a Cancerian. You know, I could tell. You know, you got a little verklempt on that last podcast, and I really appreciate your honesty." You know that
Right.
kind of thing. And Quentin is like, "Bitch, there's the door."
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And let me calculate and let me calculate the equivalency of the potential of a valuable individual. Let me calculate that real quick before I help you.
Right, 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 right. And that creates and as far as Arthur goes, Arthur is uh he has a completely different viewpoint than Quentin or myself, but yet the three of us, we, it's the sum is greater than its parts type of a thing in the podcast.
For
And
sure.
Arthur's always posing, well, did you think about this, or did you, what about this? And and I'm surprised when Arthur says that, not in a negative way. I'm just surprised. Oh, I didn't think about that. Because I look at it from a
Mhm.
tech viewpoint. Quentin looks at it from a multi-school viewpoint of all of the fields that he's
Mhm.
been imbued himself in, and all of that. So my viewpoint, to come full circle, my viewpoint is well, I've always been this way, but once I got trained as an auditor, and once I got knocked around in the field trying to find my way as an auditor in the field, and came to grips with the reality of, well, let's just put it this way: the independent field is a shit show. And looked at that and went, geez, I got to do something about this. I need to build a better beast. And it's cost me relationships. It's cost me money. It's cost me, um, well, you work all the time, and you're getting so much done. How do you have a life? Well, I don't. This is my life. And that my life is based upon, somebody needs to put this stuff here, whether it's paying for online services to
Mhm.
host LRH's material, either in audio format or online course room with all the courses, and paying people to move a course room from one place to the other, and do all that data entry. And then, creating this new subscription platform with LRH books on tape read by LRH in an AI voice, and creating a whole new sound, basically our own version of SoundCloud, and group processing and all of this stuff. And Quentin is this way too. And this is why I'm answering it this way, is he's like, yeah, that'd be great, so people could have access to this for $8.88 a month. Who wouldn't do that? And it's not to make money, but it's to put it out there. So if, for whatever reason, uh Quentin is very brass tacks, and I'm, but everybody deserves to know what's going on and needs to be helped. My viewpoint is that everybody should be helped. So my viewpoint is
Okay, that's
far,
good.
far. I don't know if it's left, right, or up or down, but that's, something needs to be done about it. But LRH
Well,
says
yeah,
you
To
can
what
do something
degree?
about
that's
Yeah.
right.
it.
Eh, Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, and to what degree? Because like it takes an active reciprocity, kind of like what you were saying earlier, Quentin, around, if you can see somebody putting the effort in, then yes, you'll you'll definitely step in and help them progress. Um, and then similar to you, John, as well, like the same, very similar to your story in the sense where I've put myself out there so many times and it's actually bit me in the bum so many times. It's actually worked against me rather than for me. But then as an individual, to some degree, it's actually worked for me more as well because I learned a lot through those experiences as well.
Right.
Um,
We learn from
and
our
it's interesting.
mistakes. Yeah.
It's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah.
And this can get off into multiple directions, adopting firm policy
Yes.
that you're not taking advantage of. It used to be back in the day, on Facebook, and Quentin bears the brunt of this now, less so me because he's our communication secretary and everything like that. But you know, you have people who just ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, and you spend all this time with them, and then you start adding it up in your head. Man, I've talked to this person a lot. They haven't done anything. They
Hmm.
haven't bought any services or anything like that. And then you start to get the picture. Okay, well, the rubber meets the road. Do you want to do a service? Do you want to
Yeah.
change this instead of just asking me questions? Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I'll go as far as to say this on record. We took our Fin AI off of our website in the college as of 2 days ago. You want to know
Hmm.
why? You want to know why? Well, there's two reasons.
Why?
Well, because um, Intercom, the company that produces the platform that Finn resides, decided to raise the rate of Finn by 400% a month as a subscription.
Mm.
That's
Hmm.
the first reason. Second reason is that people were misusing it. You want to know why?
Okay.
How are they misusing it?
Why?
Well, because they what they were doing is they were going in and asking Finn for things that allowed them to, well, I'm just going to be blunt and say, allowed them to self audit. And I looked at it over time, and I
Oh
I
no. Yeah,
and
that's
I
not
thought,
okay.
okay, with great power comes great responsibility, and this is completely in line with Arthur's topic. And I have to look at
That's
it, and
interesting.
I have to look at it from that viewpoint. So go ahead, and we'll get into that later. Go ahead, Arthur.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize that people were doing that with Fin because it's designed to be a study aid.
Yes, it's not
Yeah.
meant to be a way to
Replacement.
a replacement for the tech and to do it right.
Hmm.
I can't allow that to happen. I can't allow it.
Yeah, and that's fair
I
enough.
just
That's totally
can't.
fair enough.
And you know, that gets into a whole other conversation, a whole other podcast or something like that. Is if you have Harry Potter's magic wand, what would you do with it?
But don't ask me that question. I cannot
Okay.
say.
but
I cannot say on the podcast.
Right, but do you see how this dovetails? This dovetails right back into what you're saying, and karma and everything like that. And yeah, this is a great podcast idea because it goes back to um, how responsible should you be for your fellow man or your fellow being, and at some point you have to say, okay, within the confines of this particular thing, I mean, you know, we have all of the technical volumes and stuff like that out there, but we fall short of having quote unquote everything out there. We don't publish the OT levels or any the L's or anything like that, and we have a lot of information that other people don't have. And I have been derided severely by one individual for not putting that material out there that he wanted it. He's no longer with us. Um, but I
Not putting
can't
out the confidential materials?
the L's rundown stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
That's weird.
that's the extreme side of it is I made an agreement with the person that I got the materials from that I would not distribute them uh, because, well, what's the right thing to do, which is the crux of Arthur's podcast point, is what is the right thing to do. And LRH says there are two sides to responsibility: do something or do nothing at all.
Um,
Wait, Jonathan, you broke up a little bit. Ellery
yeah.
said the right what now?
LRH said the as far as responsibility goes, it's either to do something or do nothing at all. And that's the
Yeah.
And
crux
so
of
how do you discern between the two? That's the trick,
So
isn't
so I think it's kind of
it?
laid out for us in what I would say in a kind of simplistic way. Ellery said a couple of things that I can't find the reference. I was just looking it up, but I don't have Finn anymore. Um,
is my lip
Ellery
bleeding?
said, uh, but Ellery said, we're here to help the. I'm remembering that Ellery said, we're here to help the able become more able, right?
Right.
We're here to help the able become more able. And while there are those that are put on planet Earth to help the disabled, the downtrodden, the sick, and the diseased, while there are those that are put on here to help them, we want to help them become more able to do what they're here to do. And when you talk about karma, Artie, when you talk about karma, you have to also talk about dharma, right?
Mm,
Dharma.
I was going to
So
mention that.
karma is what you kind of racking up that karmic or that
mm,
you reckon up that karmic or that spiritual bank account as relates to what you put in, you get back. We reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. It's said multiple different ways in multiple different cultures.
Hmm.
Um, that's karmic in consideration. But one's dharma is their universal purpose. It's their reason for being here. It's their what they agreed or what they decided as a being to show up for on this planet and in this dispensation. That's their dharma. Now, your
Hmm.
karma is only relevant to your dharma. I want you to get
mm,
this. I want you to understand. So if your karma is I'm here to build airplanes because I want to get people flying across the globe, the Wright brothers, for example, if that's your dharma, that's your purpose, that's your life's work, that's what you're here to do. Jonathan's dharma is AOGP. That's a part of his dharma, helping clear the planet, helping raise OTs and get people up the bridge and helping people get this awareness in. That's his dharma. Anything that supports his dharma, right? Anything that supports his dharma is a karmic plus. So I'm doing this podcast with Jonathan. Art, you're doing this podcast with Jonathan. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Because my
yeah.
brother is on a road of his dharma, of doing this thing, supporting his, working his universal purpose, doing what he feels he's here to do. He just said it. This is my life. This is my life's work. This is I want to continue to make independent Scientology available to mankind. And I want to support my brother's dharma, you see. And I make that understanding and I come to that self-determinism because I looked at his potential value. I looked at the value that this man is bringing to the world. I go through my own ethics conditions and go through any doubts or any considerations or any unknowns. And I look at this stuff and I say, who am I? Where am I? What am I? How am I going to do this? Who am I going to support? And I look at that and I say, this is somebody who is really in their dharma. Let me be a part of that. Let me support that.
Hmm.
And to that degree, he and we are better for it.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I'm here to help the able become more able.
right.
Yeah.
And
And
and go
Jesus
ahead,
said
Arthur.
it quite
Huh.
quite simply as well. You know, God helps those who help themselves, so to speak.
Jesus
Hmm.
didn't say
Um,
that, but yeah.
oh, sorry, yeah, not sorry, yeah. But it's such a true
I get the point.
statement because
Yeah.
because it's such a true statement, and so yeah, so I do apologize for my little mistake there, but yeah, um, and like that says it all, doesn't it? God helps those who help
Yeah.
themselves. Now, if we take on that stance as well, we should be helping those who help themselves.
Well, and that's what
Mhm.
LRH,
That's right.
Like,
says to do
yeah,
is that, a being is basically good, and they will put in their own ethics. And that means if they're doing something wrong, they will pull in their own motivators to stop them from what it is that they're doing that they know that they shouldn't be doing, even if it is in the most oblique way. All engrams, an engram has two sides, an overt and a motivator. This is what LRH says. So in that wise, you have to look at it and go, okay, well, that is what, and Quentin, we can delve into this more if you want to, and Arthur as well. That is karma. The universe, the universe doesn't do anything to you.
It'll let you do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you
Literally.
want. The only person you have, and if you don't agree with this and you want to say that the man in the sky with the beard sitting on a cloud is doing this, okay, that's fine. I respect that, and I respect your beliefs. However, I know personally, and ethics is a personal thing, that is not the case. Now, we may all be part of a holodeck or a hologram and all that jazz, and that's called, the physical universe, and we're of the theta universe, and we're sticking our thetan finger into a body and using these minimalized perceptions that prevent us and are resistor to our own intentions, postulates, creation of energy, so on and so forth. But the thing is it all ends and begins with you. So that's something that has to be taken into consideration with, what do you do for your fellow man? So if you look at it and you go, should I help this person? I mean, what do you really know, and how much can you ask? I think is something that should be approached if they're helping themselves. What is helping themselves?
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. I'm asking that question.
I think it's somebody that.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah, for me, I think it'd be as simple as somebody who invests in themselves to move forward in their own direction, whatever direction that may be. And this is where it gets tricky, because if somebody chooses to go down what we perceive a rotten path, so to speak, they've chosen that. So who are we to discriminate what someone chooses their path to be? So maybe it becomes an individual decision on who you choose to help, because some paths will be very uncomfortable and some paths will be more comfortable. So that's the karmic decision right there. How comfortable do you want to be? And then we can fall into empathy for people as well. Where we could see somebody literally going down a bad path that we know is going to cause them harm. And so we go out of our way to try and protect them from their path. And I think that's more where my question is based on: who do we actually help?
Well, I will say this, that LRH kind of gives us some ideas on that. One of my favorite books is Dianetics 55, and in there, LRH talks about pandeterminism, right? And I'm reading here in the chapter pandeterminism. He says, we come immediately to what we mean by ability. It would be the ability to start, change, and stop things. If we have an ability to start, stop, and change things, we of course must be willing to start, stop, and change things. Those people who are unwillingly behaving in some direction so as to start, stop, or change things are very sick people. They're unwillingly behaving, right? And in this category, this last category, we discover that the bulk of the human race at this writing. And so he talks about pandeterminism, and he says self-determinism, a sane man is in good measure self-determined. Pandeterminism would mean a willingness to start, change, and stop on any and all dynamics. That is its primary definition. A further definition, also a precision definition, is the willingness to start, change, and stop two or more forces, whether or not opposed. And this could be interpreted as two or more individuals, two or more groups, two or more planets, two or more life species, two or more universes, two or more spirits, whether or not opposed. This means that one would not necessarily fight, he would not necessarily choose sides. And this is a controversy. He goes into talk about the controversy of mankind. That when you're pan-determined, you don't really go in and judge, right? You actually are willing, based on the ability to be pan-deterministic, you're willing to start, stop, or change things, two or more things at a time. And so right now, I got you, I got Art, I got Jonathan, I got Art, I got everybody listening to this podcast. I got clients that I work with across the globe. I got so many individuals, forces that I'm willing to start, change, and stop. And to that degree, you can see one's ability, right? You can see how able one seems to be. How willing are you to start, change, and stop things? Most people Most people be like, oh, Q, I'm stuck. I can't get out of this situation. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent. Messed up. Cry, cry, cry. Can't do nothing. Can't move. Can't think. Can't breathe. Can't. I just had somebody call me right before this podcast having a panic attack because their internet went out. Hello? The
Mhm.
internet went out and they had a panic attack. I want you to hear me. So to that, and I literally said, call me back when you fix it. And I hung up the phone. I'm not going through this with you. I'm not. You
know what I love
so
about you, Quentin?
myopic. Go ahead. What's up?
That's something I love about you. And I find it really hard to be that way. Hey, I find it super hard to be that way.
I ain't got time for it, y'all. I don't have time for it. Listen, call me back when you fix it. And
You know
and
what?
then and then and
I've
then
got
he
a
called me
course
back. No, I said,
idea for you.
okay, go ahead.
I've got a course idea for you, and it's going to be called How to Be a Tough Motherfucker.
Like you in the middle of a panic attack because your internet went out, and and so I said, call me back when you fix it. He fixed it, called me back, and said, I don't like the way you did that. I would have said it differently. And I said, you might have. Jonathan is cracking up. He said, I would have said it differently. I said, and you might have, but guess what? You got it fixed without me having to be on the phone and walking you through every dot and every tittle. And I got time for
And you
that.
know what? That's a perfect example to my question as well, because you made them responsible for their karma. So you did not buy into their karma,
Yeah. Your
so to
your
speak.
your
You know,
your your crisis does not constitute my emergency.
Right.
That's one of my Qisms.
That's that
yep.
sign in the it was an auto repair shop in Missouri where they said your inability to plan and foresee problems does not constitute an emergency on our part.
Right. Exactly. I don't.
So
I can't. I just
you're
can't.
right, and I'm going to swing this back to the ethics conditions because
Dum,
it,
dum,
it
dum.
dun, 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 because what is it? It's an emergency. It's an
Mhm.
they're in
Yep.
emergency going, Quentin, my internet's going out. I need you to help me with this. And you're like, uh, you're saying, look, I'm assigning you I'm assigning you this condition of emergency, and I have to assign you this condition of emergency and have you follow through with it in order to get out of emergency. And that way you are saying publicly to that person or that group or organization or whatever that I'm assigning you this condition, and therefore you do not take on the condition yourself. Think about that.
Thank you.
What I just said. What I just said.
You do not say it again, Jonathan. Say it slow this time.
Okay.
Perfect.
Slowly. If LRH says If you fail to, and I did a podcast on this, the condition you fail to assign. I'm going to repeat it again. And this goes out to the third and fourth dynamic, y'all. If you fail to assign a condition to a person or a group or a situation, and you do nothing about it, you take on that condition yourself. Period. And it
So
is
the karma spreads.
so the karma spreads, so to speak.
Wait. Let me make sure I get it right. So
Like a disease.
if you fail to assign, give it to me again.
The condition you fail to assign is the
Okay.
condition you take on. So this person is going around like Chicken Little. The
Yes.
internet is failing. The internet is failing. The internet is failing. What do I do? And you're like, oh my God, the internet is failing. What do we do? I have handled. Here's what you need to do. And hold on. I'm going to tell this client I'm on with right now. I'll call you back later. And then you get on with the person that's saying their internet is failing. And okay, let me guess what? You just took on that
Now we're
condition.
both in emergency.
Now we're both in emergency.
Yep.
Yeah, not me. And I wasn't even doing nothing. I was just laying in the bed. I wasn't doing nothing.
Right.
I could have took the call. I could have stayed on the call for the next hour. Not me.
Right. And so to that,
He said, what you doing? I said, nothing. Oh my God, my internet's going on. I can't do. I said, call me back when you fix it.
right. And then we get back to, if you want to handle it appropriately, you tell the person, and I'm not telling you what to do or anything like that. This is more jokingly.
Yeah.
You remember that thing I've mentioned to you about billable hours?
Right.
About what?
Billable
Billable
hours.
hours.
Because when you pay an attorney, the minute you get on the phone with that attorney, he's writing down,
Yo,
this is
we
the
on
time
billable
I was
hours.
on the
That's right.
phone with this guy, and this is when I ended. Okay. And he sends that to his assistant that says, okay, bill him for this 56 minutes I sat there and talked to him about his internet being off.
Internet. That's right. That's right.
Not because and this plays into what Arthur's talking about, is how much do you take of your attention units and apply it to somebody else. And and Quentin's going to fall out of his chair when I say this. When you're doing this sort of a thing, you have to look at, okay, I've got so many allotted minutes left in my lifetime, whatever that is. And all of this time and this education that I have on this and the solutions that I can provide, I get paid for that. And why do you get paid for that? Because if you're going to invest your time with somebody and you're going to help them do something, you have to look at it and go, okay, this is what I'm getting paid for. This aids my survival, my dynamics, and it aids their survival and their dynamics. And it's a return of investment. Okay. We're looking at this from a monetary standpoint because everybody does the same thing.
Right.
Like you just said, I ain't got time for that. No, you don't. Because you've got other people who have skin in the game. They have skin in the game. And that is, if you've got an attorney and you've given him, what do they call it? When you give them funds to work for you, it's a
retainer.
A retainer.
Like a retainer.
That's what I was looking for. It's a retainer. Okay. So you've got a retainer with this attorney, and the attorney says, I want you to know that I'm going to bill you at $120 an hour. Even if you're talking about the weather, his time is money. Now let's take the money out of it here. Okay, for a minute. Okay, money is not the issue, but your time is the most valuable thing you have. Another person's time is the most valuable thing they have. And the two will either meet or they will not. And that goes back into, if you, and I was just talking about this morning for the podcast to somebody else, is policy is only as good as you have agreement. And this goes back to the Finn thing as well, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast. We put Finn out there, and the policy is it's here to help students and answer questions for people who have fundamental basic questions on it, and any question can be answered. But for every answer that Finn gives, It's $1.
Mm.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I actually had to butt in on conversations with people and say, look, every question you ask of Finn, and these were really, really deep technical questions and stuff, because I get notified when people ask questions and I see the questions on there, and you know, the 10, 20, 30 questions with Finn
Wow.
on these things, and then it's costing the org $1 a piece. They give you an allotted number of questions, like 50 or something a month. And this doesn't have anything to do with their 400% increase. It's that 400% increase plus over 50 questions, $1 per question. I shit you not. And we've seen the same
Hey,
thing with.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we have a I think we have a data issue.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe John turned off your video as well.
I'm still here.
It's really bad.
Yeah, on my end, I'm not getting anything that the internet's bad.
Jonathan, hold on a second. Hold on a second because it's laggy.
Standing by. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So where were we?
You were saying
Finn.
about the 400% increase in
Yeah,
dollar per minute or
yeah,
dollar per question.
yeah, 400 and something, $450 a month, $51 a month, and after 50 questions, it's $1 a question. And so, if you have agreement in policy that these things are for, when you could go on the college and you could use Pedal or the Oracle, same thing, and you could go in there and you could do your research. At some point, you have to say, okay, what's the greatest good for the greatest number here? Should I invest this money? Should I invest this time? Is my return of investment, so to speak, whether it's energy or in the form of money or attention or all of those things, is this the most viable thing? Because nobody's coming to pay this bill but AOGP. And that's the same thing as to whether you want to, how much time do you want to invest in somebody? Are they in agreement with the policy? You know, we have these PCs that come up and go, you know, well,
Hmm.
I self-audited on this and I self-audited on that, and I did this and I took the theta meter and I looked into this and I looked into that and all of this stuff. And I'm sitting here writing this stuff down going, okay, got to fix this, got to fix that, got to fix this. And then you go, okay, so they're not on policy
Yeah.
with 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 what LRH says you should be doing. And I see this all the time. And uh I got to give an example of this if you guys will entertain me on this. This happened the other day, and actually I have it on Messenger, and I sent it to you guys. And this has to do with whether people are on policy and should you help them or should you just walk away on something. And it had to do with uh I forget what his last name is, this guy that says he's LRH reborn. And my 2D at the time back in 2020, 2019, dubbed him LRH 2.0, and it stuck. And I posted on Facebook the other day because this is directly in line with what's my karma. And this was sent to Pat Krennick, my former mentor. I'm going to read this real quick if you guys don't mind, because it has everything to do with karma, and then we'll wrap this up. I said, Patricia, promoting a registered felon who is currently incarcerated as having tech that gives quote unquote wins and bypasses cases is wholly and completely irresponsible for someone of your training and capability. Uh, you're an opinion leader in the field until this con artist persuaded you to believe his originations on the meter. You yourself should know from the Class 8 course, like LRH says, that the auditor doesn't know what the read on the meter is. It's just a read. Because this felon has a floating needle on being LRH of all people doesn't mean he is actually that being. It doesn't mean he or you have license to make it okay to create new processes for people to do. It's wholly irresponsible for you to do that and out tech. Because when you do, and these people come to our org or someone else's with case troubles from running this drivel, want help, have to pay us to repair them, and feel horribly betrayed that they trusted you and this nut. Yes, everyone is responsible for their own case, and they can make their own decisions, providing they aren't given false and wholly inaccurate data on that real auditing technology is based on factual information, which is what he is purveying and is not, and your credibility and reputation go down the drain with it by signing off on it. As far as we are, and I have to go to the next image. I got to open it up here. As far as we are concerned, as an organization, you've been sucked into an operation that is scuttling the field even more with this type of agreement and complicity. In so doing, you've fallen into a condition of enemy at best, looking at it from this side of the field. I'd be remiss not to quote unquote assign that condition, as we have no interest in taking it on ourselves. Ethics is a personal thing, and there's no enforcement that can be done, nor do we want to enforce it. That's on you, and especially Justin, LRH 2.0, to take a look at. Be it known that is my viewpoint as AOGP. Take a look at that, and both of you should be honest with yourselves in so doing. We distance ourselves from you because of the 4 years ago, and will continue to do so because of it. We're here for you and always will be. However, we are tired of cleaning up other organizations' messes when it comes to out tech and making it okay. This includes the corporate Church of Scientology. It's not only out ethics, but suppressive to bypass cases without tech and be okay with it. You know better. So that's a situation that I assigned, so to speak, a condition and made it known to others that this was not okay. What others do with it, that's their prerogative or not. So I'm not going to be a part of that sort of thing. So when somebody comes to you and says that they want help, and yet all they take, and you spent 20 hours talking to them on Facebook Messenger, as Quentin does sometimes or more, and I used to do, or Arthur still, you have to say, okay, is this person willing to help themselves? And what's going on here?
Yeah. And you know what I kind of like about Quentin's approach to that? He's already made up his mind. He's already saying, help yourself and then I'll help you straight off the bat. Whereas you just raising the question, should I
Right. Well, I'm
invest
trying to make it
time?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it, self-determined. Here's our viewpoint. If
Yeah.
it's true for you, it's true for you. If it isn't true for you, it isn't true for you. And that was what Quentin was saying, is he was basically saying, talk to the hand, you go handle
Yep.
this, and that's it. And he said it in one sentence. And then
Yeah,
Quentin's
exactly.
a master at that. But I mean, you have to give some context and what's going on and what's been seen.
Of course.
Because you're dealing with your karma, your future, your time, your money, your effort, your resources. More importantly than anything else is you only have so much hours available to you in the day, and you have a lot of things that you need to get done, both for your own production and survival, and you can only put beans that get beans out. And in our case, we do these podcasts, and we're doing the same thing I just read to you. We're saying, here's this. Think with this data. If it's true for you, use it. If it isn't, don't listen to the podcast. And so we're taking KRC for it, and we're saying, we want to help you with your karma, and just to mention, we can help you with your karma further, and we can deliver services to you. But the most important point is not, I mean, we all have to survive and we have to pay the bills, yes. But the most important thing is we're putting this out there. Aren't you interested? Aren't you curious on the CDEI scale to do something about this and avail yourself of this technology and apply it to others and pay it forward? That's what this podcast is all about. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
And while we've been discussing this, sorry, I'll just throw this in quickly, but while we've been discussing this, I've realized how much the tech actually applies to my question and how much the tech is actually based on the question.
Yes.
Literally, because the tech will teach you that. It's there to open you up and put you on your path, not somebody else's, or get your path confused with somebody else's
That's right.
um, path.
Yeah, it's right in front of you. The only difference is Arthur, and this is not a negative statement. Arthur knows what Arthur knows. Quentin knows what Quentin knows. Jonathan knows what Jonathan knows. LRH knows what LRH knows. And to some varying degree, all of us know where to find the tech or know somebody to ask to find the tech to go take it up with LRH. And somebody comes to me and says, well, blah, 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 blah. I don't like how you, okay, here's the reference. Take it up with LRH.
Right. You
Don't
you
argue
you
with,
you go ahead. You
yeah,
you and call me back when you fix it.
right, right. And that's what you did. That's what you did with the guy and the internet is you said, nope, not my condition, your condition. And it's your condition. And that's what you have to do. And that's the thing with a person's
Well,
karma. Go ahead.
I'll say this, and I did help because before I said that, I didn't give you the full story, but before I said that, because he said, my internet's going, and I don't know how to fix it, right? He said, and I don't know how to fix it. And I said, Google knows. I said, ChatGPT knows.
But if he's got no internet, how can he access?
He had internet to call me. He had
Well,
he had data he had data to call me, so he got data to Google.
Yeah,
well, yeah, in America here in South Africa, you have to have call minutes and you have to have data minutes. And if you're not using your data to call on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Skype or Telegram, okay, that might be an issue. But the thing is what you're saying is in the responsibility sense to do something or do nothing.
Right. Well,
That's a
well, the other
condition.
thing is that when somebody comes to me, this is just my viewpoint. Many people can have a different viewpoint on this, but for me, when somebody comes to me for help, right, they're actually coming to me for help as opposed to me trying to, volunteer or trying to do certain things
yeah,
like out, along the fourth dynamic. If somebody's coming to me for help, I kind of position myself as a manager, right? I'm managing that flow, managing those resources, start, change, stop, right? Ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so I immediately reference the Credo of a Good and Skilled Manager by LRH in the books.
Mm-hmm.
In the book Scientology: A New Stance on Life, the Credo of a Good and Skilled Manager. And in here, one of his things he says is number 10, he must constitute himself on the order of service to the group. So I have to constitute myself on the order of service to the group. So I position myself to be of service to the group and the order of service to the group. Fair enough. Then number 11 says this: he must permit himself to be served well as to his individual requirements. Isn't this good? He must prevent himself to be served well as to his individual requirements, practicing an economy of his own efforts and enjoying certain comforts to the end of keeping high his rationale. So this is actually the creed of a good and skilled, a successful and skilled manager. So I have to practice, or sorry, permit myself to be served well. I think you talked about that earlier, Jonathan, when you talked about retainer and
Mm-hmm.
compensation stuff like that. But then it says practicing an economy of his own efforts. I don't have time for that.
Right.
mm,
And that
I
comes
don't have
down to,
time for this.
yeah, it comes down
Mhm.
to LRH's policy called completed staff work. And all he
mm,
says to do there is it's a form and it says situation, data, solution. As you are the executive and a junior comes and says, uh, we have a fire, there's something that needs to be put out and maybe not a real fire. And I get
Right.
that, what do you do? But we have this problem. Okay. So what's the situation? Okay. That's brief. The data. Okay. What's the data behind it? What's the solution? This is my solution as your junior to handle the problem. And then the executive signs off on it. Or he says, disapproved CSWP, complete staff work, please.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me the problem. Give
Yep.
me a solution to that problem,
Solution.
because
Right.
otherwise, and when you're dealing with what's right and what's wrong, as far as, what's the karma on helping somebody, or what, or not helping somebody, is you have to get information. And once you have that information, you can go, I've been told, I take on cycles where angels fear to tread. I'm done with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with
Yep.
that. I'm not going to do it anymore, because there's way more effort put into it, that you can't put you can't help those. Again, it comes back to that. You can't help those who help themselves, because there wouldn't be this miasma of all of this confusion and problems and all of this stuff and insanity that you have to deal with. And yet, okay, do I really want to take that on? Is that pro survival for me, or am I, I'm trying to eat an elephant when all I need is a squirrel to survive? I don't need all of that additional problem, or that indigestion of dealing with somebody else's resultant karma that they created. I'm more than happy to help somebody, but only if they're willing to follow this particular line of policy and or tech. If you want to go in session and you want to fart around on the meter in between sessions, and I'm not saying that there's anybody that's doing this, they have in the past. You want to fart around on the meter, you want to talk to your ex-husband and have him reverse audit everything I took you in session for, bye-bye. I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm not going to
That's a
do it.
lot. Yeah.
Right. That's
Yep.
a lot to take on, because you can't get the water out of the boat, because there's so much more water coming in. The boat won't float. And
Mm-hmm.
this is exactly the case where we're at, as far as, what is true for you is true for you. What your karma is you can only help those who will help themselves. Otherwise, you are not assigning them a condition.
You're taking it on.
You're taking it on. Don't do it.
That's terrible.
Don't do it. But you have to have the information. Now, the only hole in that concept is if they don't tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so yes, that could be a thing, right? And all I'll say to that is I know my truth, right?
Your
And
knowingness.
so even in a lie, so let's say they're lying to me. Oh my gosh, I'm having a panic attack. Okay, what's going on? Um, yeah, I can't, I just can't call anybody. I can't talk to anybody. I don't know what's going on. I can't reach out to anybody. I'm just feeling, you know, and so yes, I would try to respond to that person in the moment to get more information to figure out what's going on. But ultimately, this is the deal. When I look at myself as a skilled, successful and skilled manager, a good and skilled manager, I'm going to move based on the best information possible. And I'm going to make decisions based on the best information possible. And when I get the information, I can make a better assessment. What do they say? You can't treat until you diagnose,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't treat until you diagnose. And so I would like to diagnose this first. Talk to me about what's happening, what's going on. When I realize it's something that is below my pay grade, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek, I'm not saying literally you have to pay me, but when I realize that's something that you could handle yourself if you felt so inclined to do so, then I would turn that over to you. And I would give you back what you need. I'm here to help. I am my brother's keeper. But to the degree I extol effort towards helping you is going to be based on your potential value and how I see you showing up in the world. And so let's start there. How are you going to show up with this? What is this for? What are you going to be doing with this? What does this look like? And then I'll let you know whether I can help.
Right.
Start.
Right. And then you have, part of that is the indicators. Do they show up on time? Do they answer, text messages or emails? Is it 3 days, or is it 3 weeks, or is it 3 hours? These are all indicators. No calm means nothing good, LR8 says. And that is so very, very true.
Wow. Yeah.
No com means nothing good. Com lag is the index of indexes in dealing with people, and their karma intertwined with yours. And that's why I try to answer every email that I get. And I have an Apple Watch, and I have an iPhone, and I have messaging on my computer on various comm lines. And I try to respond from a speed of service viewpoint, because comm lag is everything. Wow, hey, I'm surprised you answered. And they're expecting a day or two type of a thing. This is the world that we live in. And we improve through auditing and through training a person's comm lag and awareness level of the reality that they're in. And when we get people darkening our door, so to speak, and needing help, we have to look at those indicators of how they communicate, what they communicate about, what their situation is, and above all else, what our knowingness says about a situation with people. And I'm not trying to sound judgmental, but the thing is your karma is directly related to the spheres of influence that a person brings into them, intertwined with
There
your
it
own,
is.
Yes. The company you
Yes.
keep, the cycles of action that you decide to take on, the information that you are exposed to, and this comes down to the data series, and I've said this before, and it has everything to do with everything that's going on in the world today. And I've said this in podcast after podcast after podcast. You have to have reliable sources, and you have to have a myriad number of sources. Scientology, independent Scientology, and Dianetics give you the tools to understand what a reliable source is, whether things are factual, how to think about logic. Take this information and have multiple sources, and keep your own counsel, code of honor, code of a Scientologist, these types of things. Don't let anybody invalidate or evaluate for you. Know your tone scale, and only do business. And I don't mean financially, either transactionally, emotionally, communicatively, actionably, with those people that meet those requirements in order to keep your karma, your universe clean. Period. This is by hard-won experience from LRH. I didn't understand it
So good. Yeah.
for years, but it's factual,
Yeah.
especially now, especially today. So this is what this is all about. And I'm glad Arthur brought this up as a podcast, because it's important to understand that you can be pushed or you can hold your position. And LRH says the definition of an OT is the ability to hold a position in space and also to get things done. But you can't get things done if you get distracted by people whose karma is on a completely different path in a sawtooth waveform as opposed to a sine wave. Just to give you an idea, triangles or curves. That shows up on the meter, and FN is a beautiful sine wave. An evil purpose is really sharp, jagged, high amplitudinal triangles, back and forth, switch and switch, this direction, this valence, da 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 da. So it all comes down to the company you keep, who you choose to do business with, emotionally or transactionally. That's your karma. And if you always go with your first knowingness, is this person good? Is there something going on here? Let's pull the string, get more information. Look at the chart of human ability. Look at the tone scale. Know your conditions and know what condition to assign to something. That's what I have to say on it.
And
I love it.
interestingly, as a potential starting point for people listening to this, if they're and tell me if I'm wrong, guys, but TR4 through the com course, that would really apply to this. I mean, yes, the TR is designed for auditing process, but in a real life situation, that would be a skill that would definitely keep you in alignment with your own path, because it teaches you not to buy into these things in such a way and stick to the program, so to speak, and in a personal situation, stick to your own program, while still being able to be able to acknowledge situations around you, but then also continue on your path. Considering everything is communication, like these drills will definitely help you with that, and you can do that in the communication course
Yeah,
just as a starting point.
yeah, it's a beginner's course on communication, and everything we've talked about today through communication has to do with communication. Is getting the answer to your question in an auditing session is just as important to getting the answer to your question when you're having a conversation with somebody. Being able to originate and say things that they can understand, being able to acknowledge things that other people understand, just getting the answer to your question and nothing else. TR3 and TR4 is handling all of the originations in the middle of it, and then still getting the person back on course of what the desired communication or communication cycle in the larger arc is. And if you can do
And
that,
yep,
go ahead, Arthur.
yep. And even just recognizing the difference in originations as well. You know, what's legitimate and what's not legitimate,
That's right. That's right.
which going through that process is really tricky. Um, and from my own personal experience, going through that, oh, there were so many times I wanted to blow this course out of frustration. But the more we practiced, it really became really clear. I'm like, wow, like I've accepted so many non-originations without recognizing the difference.
Right.
You
And then
know,
you
what's
go,
legitimate and what's not legitimate.
right. And 3 hours later, shit, I can't get that time back.
No, that's right.
It's,
Or in some cases, it could be years for people. It could be months for people, depending on
yes.
their situations. It could be a
Yes.
lifetime for some.
Right. Right. And, authenticity, and if the person, where they're at on the tone scale, how do they handle communication? Look at the chart of human ability and go, okay, how did they handle this communication? What was their response? And go, oh,
Yes.
what's their viewpoint on children? What's their viewpoint on this? How do
Hmm.
they handle that? And then you home in on it and you go, I didn't see that. But you have to know these tools, and it doesn't make you critical. There's a difference between critical thought and criticism. And in
Hmm.
Yes.
understanding that, you have to look at, okay, is this worth the beans that I'm putting in? Or because how many people don't take advice? They want to hear your advice, they want to be heard, they want to have a calm cycle because they want to outflow about their present time problems, their ARC breaks, their miswithholds, their overs, their invals, their evals. They want to listen, but then when you give them the advice, they come back. A guy comes back a couple days later and says, "My internet's out again."
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't stop, and it doesn't change anything.
Right.
And it's almost like once you kind of get yourself on the hook of being their terminal or their source,
Mhm.
you then become their source. And I think
Yeah.
that is probably better to make them aware that they can find their own solutions, and they can come up with the solutions to their own problems, and that lets them become more empowered and takes you off the hook for being the solver in that situation. Now, don't get me wrong, you are being a solver by giving them the power to answer their own question and find their own solutions. You are actually being a solver, but I'm not here to be your source in that sense.
Right.
So
See,
you
that's
mean
that.
you mean letting people being responsible for their own karma?
Yes,
Well,
and yet
ultimately,
and
that's
your
all you're
choices.
doing. Yeah, and your choices. Ultimately, that's all you're doing is, in the big picture of things. From my standpoint, okay, so you want to go up the bridge, all right. Um, when do you want to start? And Quentin, I'm not naming any names or anything like that. How many cycles have we been dealing with over the last 9 months?
Hmm.
When do you want to
Hmm.
start? Yak yak yak
Multiple,
yak yak
multiple,
yak yak
multiple.
yak
Yeah.
yak yak yak
But
yak
what
yak
about
yak
this?
yak
But
yak
what
yak
about
yak yak
that?
yak
But what
yak.
about
Consideration,
what
consider
about
it.
such and
Right,
such?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally feels like that. Like they're coming from different directions. Two voices, with the this and that, and then my cats, and I'm seeing
Call me back when you fix it.
right, right, because I got other people that need help that are willing to stay on this track and use this information and not do other practices and try and solve these problems and everything. Well, I feel like I want to start. Okay, you want to start Saturday? Crickets.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's the C word. It's the C word. Everybody's
What's the
the
C word?
confront word.
Confront. Right.
Confront.
It's
Yeah.
a matter of confront, and you have to confront your karma mixed with their karma and the paths that they're on, and you've got a pure sine wave and they've got a sawtooth, and you put them together, and this you can do this on a synthesizer on your computer for free and download the software. You put those two together, you get a completely different sound. You take those two
Mm.
apart, you have two separate sounds. You're dealing in wavelengths in the physical universe. Well, you're dealing in wavelengths in the physical universe as a thetan who creates energy. What kind of energy do you want?
Pretty good, guys.
I really love this. Can you guys hear me?
Frozen again.
Yeah, I'm
I
here.
can hear you. Oh, yep. Okay, it's
This is going
back.
to be a bitch to edit. I can't wait till we get out of here and have a solid internet connection. Jesus.
Yeah.
Whew.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1. So in closing, I hope this has gotten across and we've given enough parables and analogies and all of that stuff to what karma do you want to deal with, what's your karma and other people's karma, and how they intermix. And this turned out a lot better than I could have ever hoped for. And in closing, do you guys have anything you want to say?
I would just close out by
Mm.
saying, help people who you know. I'll say it this way. It was told to me by one of my spiritual teachers, never help those who need it, only help those who deserve it. And I was told this back in, God, probably 2005, 2006. Never help those who need it, only help those who deserve it. And what that means is that those who are going to be disserved means of service. Deserve means to be of service. So those who are going to take what you gave them and serve the greater whole. Take what you gave them and serve humanity. Take what you gave them and serve all the more. So help those who deserve it and who is going to take what you gave them and serve the greater. And therefore, you become more pan-deterministic because you're working across all the dynamics, not just that one.
Right.
That's my
Theta,
viewpoint
yeah, theta the solver, theta the problem.
for sure.
Arthur, anything in closing?
Um, hmm. I'm just going to stick with God helps those who help themselves, and I think use that as a guiding point to the decisions you make when it comes to helping others as well. And in the near future, look out for Quinton's new course, How to Be a Tough Motherfucker.
Sign ups coming up on November 1st.
Yep. LRH has a no drill. And that's the Scientology ways. How to say nope. You
Let's see.
CSWP, complete staff work, please. And yeah.
I like
So
that one.
yeah.
Gee,
So for
I think that's the first time I've ever sworn on a podcast.
yeah, I think it is too. Well,
Records are being broken everywhere.
yeah. So everybody, thanks for being here, and we hope you've been able to transpose this over to your own life and have a better understanding of it from three completely different but in agreement viewpoints on independent Scientology and Dianetics and the application thereof. We'll see you for another podcast, very likely tomorrow. Namaste, and we love you. Bye bye.
Peace.
Bye bye.